people 2 to 8 weeks because sometimes I have a do or die project and HACCP just like it's not important at all at that moment, unfortunately. But 2 to 8 weeks with an average of 3 because it takes a few days for them to process the check and then send it to me. So and it is pretty good. I mean, we used to be like, I don't know if you guys remember how many months and months and months behind. Yeah, then when I got hired on, I was like, get them all caught up. Alright, so, and usually they're pretty good. Usually they're calling me because they've been doing it without approval, and then they want it yesterday approved. I was like, sorry, I'm not jumping you over 5 million other people who have the same problem. Okay. So this is just a short one. I'll try to be shorter. That other one is a long one. I put this together for the FDA when we did a presentation. And okay, so with HACCP, I just want you guys to remember 2 things: risk and control. HACCP seems overwhelming, but it really, and I was overwhelmed, I'll be honest with you, when I took courses and when I worked for the state. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret that I've never told, except for when I did this one course. If you want to compete with our inspectors, you better get HACCP trained, and you better get darn good at it. Because when we go into processors, we're HACCP trained. I've had years and years of HACCP training in all kinds of different food commodities, regulator HACCP training, and we switched. I mean, you know, you have your GRPs. We have our GMPs when we go into manufacturers. And when we first started, we were very focused on GMPs. Well, there's a hole in the wall, there's a rat trapping over there, you know. But they switched us to risk-based inspections. And I see that, I don't know how you guys do it individually. I'm sure some aren't doing it, some aren't. But I see a lack of that. And I'm a short-termer, you guys, short-timer. Because retirement is looming for me. And so I want to, my concern is public health. I don't care about who's doing a better job, who's doing what, who's getting along with who. What I want to see is everybody being able to protect public health. So if you're going into a restaurant, retail food facility, it's easy to say the floors, walls, and ceilings are clean or whatever, whatnot. It's easy, automatron. I could do my autopilot thing and walk out. But really, what you're looking for, should be looking for, is the risks. And if you get HACCP trained, you're automatically going to learn how to identify those risks. It kind of forces you to. And it seems hard in the beginning, and it's usually a 3 to 5 day course, so don't come and ask us to teach it to you, because we're not certified to train for HACCP. You can get a HACCP certified course, or a course for regulators. And that is going to improve your inspector's skills, or your own skills. Instead of walking in there, you're going, I mean, if you throw out kombucha, I've not done any kombucha inspections. But after I read, I'm going to tell you, Brenda's stuff, boom, I knew what the 2 risks were and what you need to look for. So it just starts coming to you. So anyways, that's just my spiel. But that would be if you want to elevate your skills and elevate protecting public health and being able to identify when you walk into a place what those risks are and just hone in on them, right? Rather, like the CDC 5 risk factors, the FDA is always preaching about. Everybody know what those are? Interventions. That's what you should be looking for. So anyways, okay. So anyways, that's my spiel. Get off my soapbox. The field verification HACCP plans. I put this together. So if you're out in the field, you might be able to kind of follow up on, you know, the ROP plans, or if you have a kombucha HACCP plan that your department has approved. Well, now you got to go out and make sure they're doing it, right? So I can't tell you how many places as a processor I go in. They have books and manuals, beautiful. This is our HACCP plans. It's like, okay, well, show me how you're doing it, huh? Or your monitoring records, what, you know? So it's one thing to require it, us to approve one, but it's another thing for it to actually be implemented, and you guys checking on it. Otherwise, it's useless. I've approved it, yay, but who cares if no one's actually reviewing it? And it's not that hard to actually, just a few things you need to do. But anyways, I'm going to go through this. In the California Retail Food Code, there's subsection A for HACCP, right? You guys are all familiar with it? And it has 6 subsections. local enforcement. So if they're smoking, curing, using food additives for preservation, and you may, in this area, if it's meat, you probably want to talk to CDFA because they require licensing too for that, for the vacuum cutting. The shellfish display, this stuff, it's locals. Now this one's an interesting one. I love this catch-all subsection 6 because this is where it gives you a lot of leeway. You see kombucha, you see the acidified rice, or the whatever weird thing that they're probably going to come up with in the future. I can't even imagine. Subsection 6. Pat Kennelly, my old boss, even said they could do juice HACCP right in here requirements because it's a potentially hazardous food, juice, hazardous, or whatever product, you know, you have that ability right there. When it comes to us, CDPH, subsection B, ROP, and canned foods. So when you're out in the field and you're doing your preliminary interview of your manager, you have a HACCP plan on site. What kind of foods are you making that require a HACCP plan? Have you had any menu changes? And by the way, there's copies of this, you guys have. And then you could even ask them, do you have any of those foods, you know, that would require, you know, kombucha or, well, here we go, sushi rice, ROP, and then you know where to look. When you're looking at the HACCP plan, first thing you're going to think of is, well, what kind of food are they making? ROP, well, it's cooked, chill, sous vide, or the raw. Well, they should have monitoring records, and you're kind of going to know what those things are that are required: the fill temperature, the cook time temperature, the length of storage, right? So those things should already be circulating in your head. You're going to be looking for the monitoring of that, right? What are the hazards? I mean, with ROP, we've talked about listeria and clostridium. With kombucha, we're going to have hazards that are associated with those. Sushi rice, you have, what are the hazards with that? And how do they control them? Risk control. Make it easy, risk control. And of course you want to look at their monitoring records. That's the only way you can really, so you know, when I drive up to inspection, a processor, I'm going to use, because that was most of my time, I love processing. I know what they're making before I even get there. I've already got in my head, what are the risks, what are the controls, how are they doing it? And I'm going to look for those records. And here's our HACCP plan. I love the master sheet of the HACCP plan. Some people will do a written narrative of the same information, and it's like, it's so hard to look at. And we have to approve it. We can't dictate to them how to do or set up or plan or write it. As long as all the elements are there. But this is what you typically see, and I like that because it just separates it out, spells it out. Their critical control point, what hazards, you know, the bacteria, whatever they're controlling for, what are the parameters, what are the limits, how do they monitor it, who's doing it, how often. All of these things here are records. Monitoring records, corrective action records, verification of the HACCP plan, maybe, and record keeping procedures. You'll have the record retention, and that should all be there. But those are all records. So when you go in and you're looking at what are their hazards, what's their critical control point, for each critical control point there's going to be a monitoring record. If it's temperature, it's going to be a monitoring record. So you can see, you know. And if it's at a temperature, you're looking at their monitoring records and it says 50-some degrees, then you're like, oh gosh, well, what's the corrective action? Let me see your corrective action record. So I think we're pretty much basic here. Review the monitoring records. Did they achieve those critical control points? And was the corrective action taken? And here is a nice monitoring record example: cooling and reheating log. See this a lot with sous vide cooked chill, right? So it's a typical thing that you can see. And sometimes they put, and of course we can't dictate to them how they want to make their logs, but whatever we've approved should be there, but you know, or whatever you guys do. They should have SSOPs that are part of the HACCP plan. It's an element of HACCP, and it's required when we review HACCP plans. I want an SOP, and I want to know how often their equipment is calibrated, what's their sanitation, hygiene, and guess what? No bare hand contact for ROP. I follow the feds, and guess what? I have the power. Deny. No. But no, I really push them for this. This is not I can't see it. But this is an example of an SOP record. And a monitoring record for the SOP. Their thermometer calibration. So when you're looking at their records, does it make sense? Or they have a critical control point and there's a monitoring record for that critical control point. Are they dry labbing? Does anybody know what that is? It's like, okay, today is the date and it was 41 degrees all the way down and it's already 10 o'clock at night, but you got there at 9, it's 9 o'clock a.m. That's kind of dry labbing. They're just filling it in. They're lying. They're too lazy. Or they all, there's hints too, but it's all the same every single day unless there's some kind of computer control or something. It's like, really? I cooked it, or it was exact. So, that's one red flag. Matching things up. Did they meet their CC? What did they do if they didn't? If corrective action occurred and it was not recorded, or, what happened to the food? When you follow up on the food. Do they have HACCP trained personnel? They should, as part of the elements of HACCP. And all of those things, employees, are they being trained? Are they certified? And this is a little bit of FDA here, do they demonstrate they have any knowledge?
Regarding the dry labbing, as part of the HACCP review process, do you require them to put exact temperatures? Or if they say, we'll put if it's less than 41, and check it off as being less than 41, you know what I mean?
Well, we can't really, they should be putting the temperature.
I'm just wondering if as part of your process, do you get into that kind of detail?
We would if, it just depends on what it's required. I mean, it really should be logging the temperature because.
The actual temperature versus, right.
I
agree. I just wonder if during yours, would that be something that you'd say, hey, you need to put the actual temperature?
Because I think they're fibbing then. And they may not be, but to me it's like I can write anything I want then, right? And they can, but
right.
Those kind of questions are red flags. I call them red flags. It's like, let me check a little bit, look a little deeper here. Demonstration of knowledge. Ask them, do you know how to do this? I mean, it's one thing to here's my papers, and you guys know this, with checking the sanitizer, have them do it in front of you, see if they actually know what they're doing, the concentrations and whatnot. Same thing with this, show me how you're doing it. You say your critical control points are here, you have your monitoring records, walk me through, and show me observance. And with the ROP, and probably with some of the HACCP plans you guys might approve, you want to do your own little trace back when you're in the field. Find 3 batches. Why 3 batches? Because that's a nice number, gives you a nice idea of what's going on. Typically the day you're there, and maybe 2 prior ones, kind of be random about it. And then do a little trace back there. Go look at the monitoring records. Okay, I have this product. I've got this bag here, it's made on this date, blah, blah, blah. How did they do it? How was it cooked? Did they make criteria? And you just kind of do a little trace back. And go in the, go in the cooler, look at it, or the freezer, and match it up with the paperwork, what they're doing. Enforcement action, of course, this is going to be under your local jurisdiction, policies, procedures for your department. But I'm sure you have BCD, recalls, NODs, educate. Risk management plan, this is really an FDA thing, and for those of you getting standardized, we do a little exercise on that. Of course, according to your procedures. I always say trust but verify. All right, questions on that? That's a little kind of check thing to do in the field.
Question.
With the menu, so when they submit and they're saying we're, vacuum packing X foods, and then we come in and we're taking a look and we're seeing, and they have changed out some of those items or they've added a couple extra things, but it's still a raw meat, right? How you know, is that something we need to tell them to go through for additional approval and review, or can we kind of go, it's all in the raw meat category and sort of like move on?
Good question. I like that. And I wish that the folks turning in their HACCP plans to us would get that. But a lot of times, like this hospital, oh my God, they just sent me like this much about every single product. Really, you don't need to do that. You could
Okay.
just say raw meat,
Good. Okay.
and they could put in there beef,
Mhm.
145, poultry 165. If they do that, then it's fine. But if they only got approved for beef and now they want to do poultry, that's the way they submit the plan.
Okay.
And they will have to go through the whole process again. So yeah, it's nicer for me when they categorize it like that. They need to send us recipes and what they're doing, and if they're doing vacuum packaging and cooked shell and sous vide, then I need to know which one is being done with which.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what they want to do.
It's good advice for us to be able to give them as well
Yes,
when we're
and
telling
I'm
them to
grateful
contact
for
you
that,
guys.
so they don't yell at me. And by the way, they yell about you guys too. I'm like, no, I've been doing 20 years. That's like, oh gosh. I know that story. All right, so I need to get to the kombucha. I'm almost done because this is Brenda's. I might need you again to help me with this here.
Human resources.
Get out of here.
Or maybe as a consultant. She does. She makes them.
I don't know why my screen is doing that. Sorry.
Melissa,
Kombucha.
Do I do it? No.
who's asking for you?
Not that one.
It's kind of up in the air right now. Usually Jackie
Sorry?
does it for
No,
us,
it's
but I
reasonable,
think
yes.
Ryan Johnson.
This is just another.
But they just got promoted, so I don't think that they'll be doing it. So I don't know who it's gonna
How do I get that?
So who's your Ryan
You want
got
the
promoted to,
I just wanted
Program
to show
coordinator.
and then Kathleen.
Okay.
the whole
She's the
page.
supervisor
There's
for
2
Plan
pages.
Check.
Yeah, you have to scroll.
Who
They're
is
just
Jackie?
through
Yeah,
Yeah, and what did Ryan
All
get
right,
promoted
thank you.
to?
Program coordinator.
Now this go
Nice.
off.
Program coordinator for food and housing. Oh, she
All
got
right,
that
so
job.
this is Brenda's
What about Heather now? Is she?
presentation.
Program coordinator.
She's been researching
know.
kombucha due to all the
Yeah, we have
questions
to.
we have. It's considered a special process. She's done a lot of research, and so this is her baby, and she has like I don't know how long I thought she said like 2 hours, or maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure it's like an hour. But she actually condensed it into an overview. And I'm not going to go over this one. This is a handout for you guys. And actually, this is excellent. And I just got this on Monday, and when I was doing processing, I have not inspected kombucha. They started getting to be pretty popular when I got promoted into this position, so I was out of processing. But our department really had problems with the